Hey everybody, it's Mike Meyers, and welcome to the Mike Meyers Ask Me Anything stream here on YouTube, on the Total Seminars channel. Today is an interesting day. Today we're going to be talking about anti-malware. I'm going to be concentrating mainly on Windows, although we will have a little conversation about Android as well. So today is anti-malware day. Now I need to warn you, we might have a little background noise. My entire sewer system is being replaced. I'm very excited that they're fixing it. They're not fixing it, they're replacing it, the entire thing. There's a huge tunnel underneath my slab, and there are guys under there, and they're cutting out all the old sewer lines and putting in shiny new sewer lines. But unfortunately, I hope I don't have to go to the bathroom because I'm going to have to go out in the backyard. Anyway, I told the guys to go ahead and keep working. It shouldn't be too much noise, but if there is, you guys just holler at me and let me know. Okay, so today is all about anti-malware. But before I get started, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for joining me. See a lot of, there's all kinds of conversations going on here. Are you people having fun without me? Moscow is doing something with RGBs. We'll talk about that in a second. Anyway, just for just being nice enough to show up today, we want to offer you all of our practice questions and simulations are 50% off. Just look underneath here and use the code at the Total Seminars website, and you get all of our practice questions and all of our simulations for half off across the board. Also, if you are a teacher who is actively teaching a class right now, we're ready to open up the doors and give away just about everything. So you need to contact Kathy Yale at our office. Her email is down there, or Scott's going to type it in, one or the other. And be aware that you have to be a teacher at a real school. You have to have an active A+, Net+, Security+, probably more than that, but let's go with those. And just send Kathy Yale an email, and you would be amazed what we can pull off for you to help you guys out through these trying times. Hope everybody's doing okay. It's interesting. I don't actually know anybody who's had the COVID virus, which is probably a good thing in terms of the cases per million here in Houston. We're still pretty low, so fingers are crossed we'll make it. I've got all kinds of masks. I got some masks, and somebody sent me one of these that's kind of a joke. So I got a old school plague mask too, but it's one of those things that sounds really funny, and then you think, if I wore that into a grocery store, I'm not quite sure how people would take that. So we're just going to leave it here. I'll save it for next year or something like that. But anyway, so let's go ahead and dive in. Again, we got anti-malware big time. I'm hoping I sound good, everybody. I am really making this poor computer work very, very hard. I got 32 gigabytes of RAM in here, but I've got all these different virtual machines running different anti-malwares, and nobody's typing in, "You sound terrible," and Scott Jernigan hasn't sent me any panicky texts saying anything bad, so I guess I'm okay. So let's go ahead and get started here. First of all, it looks like Moscow has a problem with his RGB. It isn't like RGB. Andrew's there helping out. Thanks for helping out, Andrew. 10 fans? Dude, why do you have 10 fans? Okay. You have 10 120 millimeter fans? You don't even have any case. You got one big fan frame. That's hilarious. Timothy Bennett. Hang on, Timothy. We'll get this. I connected the 10 fans. Okay, so I can almost tell you what the problem is right now. So when you're using these third-party RGB tool sets like that, they tend to turn off everything else. I had the exact same problem with mine. I didn't have that brand, and I certainly wasn't doing 10 fans. I was doing 4 fans across the back, and I wanted some of the lighting. It gave me some better control on the lighting. Scott Jernigan, I would guess a connection point too. Yeah, you got a connection point. Bias maybe, but I probably would go with the connection point more than anything else. GetGo Tech, that's a new name. Hello, sir. Thanks a lot for the contents you've been dropping. I've been dropping it. What device change full speed? Yeah, no, buddy, you wouldn't. Yeah, no, you should. 10 fans plus the original case fans. I mean, I'm assuming the CPU fan's turning and stuff. Yeah, Moscow, I cannot provide any more good information than what these guys have already put in. So I'm going to stay out of there. Scott's writing down all the discount things. Joe Suso, I have a doubt depending on you. I'm just reading. Florentina Vince. Boa, Mike. Boa, Florentina. All right, just make sure. TS, Mike, how do we know if a connection listed in NetStat is something we want should be there? That's a big issue because you don't know is the right answer. First of all, stop using NetStat. You make sure you know NetStat for both A Plus and Net Plus and Security Plus, actually. But take a look at TCP View. We were talking about that last week. It's a really powerful tool. It does the same thing as NetStat, but it's graphical and updates constantly, so you don't have to constantly be typing in. Anyway, the answer is you don't have an easy answer. You got to check port numbers, and you got to get comfortable with looking at these IP addresses. There's entire websites that do nothing more. Can anybody hear that? Because they're drilling like crazy. So if nobody's going to complain, I'm going to let them keep going. You got to go through one at a time. Back in the old days when we just had to deal with IPv4, and even before Windows 10, you would just go through on NetStat and go, and remember what you're mainly interested in is what are there any ports you're listening on? So you want to do a NetStat /A, and then that way you know for a fact that you want to make sure you don't have a little server built into your system that you didn't intend to have there. That's the biggest thing. Then secondarily, then you're going to be looking at all the different places where Microsoft is phoning home. Microsoft actually has very good documentation on this. And, Microsoft isn't hiding anything. They make it inconvenient sometimes, but they're not hiding anything. They tell you exactly what type of telemetry they're looking for. And honestly, going through it in detail, none of it seems particularly Big Brotherish. Location information for a desktop or a laptop, maybe some of that might be questionable. But again, those things are pretty easily looked at. Just look up Microsoft telemetry port number or something like that in Google, and you'll find there's about 5 or 6 websites that are dedicated to what's Microsoft doing with our stuff kind of thing. But the answer is, TS, you got to go through it one at a time. It can be a real pain in the butt. Thank you for doing this, JS. Thank you for doing this. I thought that was TS for a minute. It must be TS's brother, JS. Thank you for doing this. It means a lot. While I'm studying from A+. Love your Total Sims Tester. Thanks. Christopher Schopf. Good Irish name there. Whoa. Big scrolling going on here. Wow, we have a busy day today, which is good. I'm glad to do that. But I scrolled like crazy. There we go. Christopher's just saying nice things. Thanks, brother. Daria Drobowska. Hey, Mikey boy. Are you from up north? I think you hear that one. I'm telling the plumber to cut it out. Sorry about that, guys. I didn't think he was going to be that noisy. Okay. Yeah, they're cutting out a lot of sewer line down there. Thomas Herm, Net Plus today, Security Plus tomorrow. You're taking the Net Plus today, brother? Good luck. Ghost and Leo. Hello. Hello, love. Pisayan is here. We got Brandon Bowman. Looks like you guys are all working on that stuff. I added on Skype, Mike. Did you see it? Nigel, I get so much on Skype, I don't look at it unless I absolutely have to. You're welcome to contact me on Skype, of course. Gray McLaughlin, hi, hey. Timothy Bennett, Study A+. Oh man, I gotta quit fiddle farting around here. We gotta get on to some anti-malware today. So, all right. All right, guys, I know there's some more questions. I see we're already 10 minutes in, so I'm gonna have to take a break on that. Let's start talking about anti-malware. Okay, so you guys ready? Let's do this. First of all, the big thing, if you guys ever need to contact me for any reason, this is me right here. All you got to do is, those are my email addresses. That's my office number. I will not give out my cell phone number on this stream, but odds are good if you contact me, I'll be more than glad to talk to you. I talk to 1, 2, sometimes up to 5 people per day. Always glad to talk. And when in doubt, just type DesWeds on anything and you'll probably find me that way. So let's go ahead and start talking about anti-malware. Now, I dive into anti-malware about once every 5 years or so. I get a wild hair and it's time for me to do some good R&D. And I really took advantage of your guys' interest to motivate me to do some digging on anti-malware. So I don't think we're going to come up with any real big surprises today. Couple of things I do want you guys to be aware of. I don't keep computers full of malware around. I go to 2 different sites. I should have written these down. If you got a pen, you might want to check these out. These are wonderful sites for testing malware. The first one is going to be called, you ready? av-test.org, okay? And the second one is wicar.org. These are 2 wonderful websites that really give you the opportunity to either test malware or to see what their results of their malware testing are in terms of how their anti-malware tools work. They're great sites. You should check them out anyway. All the serious people in anti-malware go to these sites, and you should too, young person. Okay. So anyway, what we're going to do today is we're going to be taking a look at a number of different malwares. But before we do that, I want to talk about the state of malware today. Right now, it seems that our anti-malware tools can be broken into what I'm going to call useful and not so useful features. So under useful features, we're going to be talking about stuff like, number 1, obviously, cleaning infected systems. Now, there's 2 ways to do that. You clean an infected system with anti-malware that's already installed on your system, or you can, in some way or another, you have an infected system and then you install software, anti-malware software onto it. We're going to talk about that in a little more detail. Number 2, it's scanning system for malware. So what we're talking about here is just see if there is any malware on the system. So usually what you're going to do is you scan, and then if it finds something, you will then go ahead and clean it, okay? Now, a little bit different than that is real-time system protection. Now, real-time system protection has been around for a long time, but there's a lot of different ways to look at it. For me, the easiest way is to use a term called on access, which I was very glad to see that Wikipedia used too. Anyway, what we're talking about here is, in the old days, if somebody opened an email or opened a web page or started an executable, that's when the anti-malware would kick in. Today, what we see more than anything else is just about anytime anything is loaded onto RAM, your anti-malware is going to check it. So it makes it a little bit easier as opposed to the old days where you had anti-malware for the email, anti-malware for your web. And now it's just, if it's in RAM, it gets tested. And then obviously, anytime any form of removable media is inserted, any good anti-malware is going to check that also. Now, another one that I didn't know about, this happens to me sometime, and they call it instant snapshot. And a large number of anti-malware people have this. So basically, the idea behind an instant snapshot is all of a sudden you're on a web page, boop, boop, you got hit with ransomware. What a pain. I mean, this has happened to me more than once. And traditionally, it was not an easy thing to rip. Either if I would try to rip it out manually, assuming I had registry access, which a lot of times I didn't have, or try to get to a command line, which a lot of times I didn't have. So usually I'd end up grabbing a Windows repair disk and assuming if I knew the ransomware, I would just yank it out manually that way. But we see now, and this was a learning thing for me, is that a lot of these anti-malware tools will now have a snapshot function. They're just using the Windows snapshot, good old snapshot, nothing special there. But they do it in such a way that if a ransomware hits, they detect it, and they basically shut down the system, reboot it right back from that snapshot. So I played with this a little bit, and everybody's doing it a little bit differently, but in general, it's a daily snapshot. So that was actually kind of cool to stumble into that. Okay, so these are what I would call useful features. Now, on the other side of this is what I'm going to call less useful anti-malware features. Now, I want to stress that I didn't say they were not useful. I'm just going to call them less useful. So some of these are fairly obvious, like removing adware, not necessarily a bad idea. Particularly on Android devices is where that becomes handy. Some form of password manager. I'm not a big fan of password managers, mainly because I like the only place I'm using passwords with any ongoing common use is going to be on my web, and I use Firefox, which has a superb password manager in there. I don't want to change it. On Android machines, you're probably going to be using Google's password manager. Secure data. In this case, what we're talking about is, sometimes there's stuff that you just simply want to hide. And for me, on a Windows system, there's so many good encrypting tools already built in. I wouldn't be super motivated for that. Last week when we were talking about Android devices, cool tools, when we talked about file managers, one of the things I did mention is that it's often nice to get a file manager that has some kind of crypt, some kind of little safe box in it. So if there's stuff that you need to hide from the real world, they do a real good job. And because they're third party, I'm not going to say they're super secure, but they will keep those prying eyes out that are so often an issue for us. So let's get back to this. All right. Blocking websites, again, a good DNS already does this for you. Most of the web browsers already have good tools for this, so I don't think that that's necessarily a problem. Updating apps. Now, updating apps can be kind of interesting, mainly because, like for us in Android, app updating is not automatic. But even in a Windows system, a lot of apps don't have updating, and you might find that to be something that's handy. Next is a host firewall. Again, I'm using Windows. I like Windows Firewall. I can make it jump up and dance. I like it, so I'm not going to change that. Family rules. Generally for me with family rules, if I'm going to actually be working at a host level for that type of firewalling, I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of the Windows tools that have it. Although otherwise, a lot of times I just put that into my router, turn off all gaming after 5 o'clock kind of a stuff. Windows privacy, which is basically an arbitrary turn off, turn on Windows location services. Since I always keep mine off, that's not a big issue. Next is a built-in VPN. I don't like that. I'm not against the idea, but I'm going to pick the VPN tools that I want to use. So if I'm going to use a standard forward VPN, I'm going to go ahead and configure OpenVPN and put that on my individual systems. And if I need a reverse VPN, well, we already talked about that, and I don't want to teach you guys how you can get Letterkenny, even though you live in the United States. If you haven't seen Letterkenny, you need to watch Letterkenny. It's a very, very funny show. And then last is a webcam blocker. That was actually an interesting one because I kind of played with it, and I'm boring because my webcam blocker is a little flap that I flip over the end of my camera. I know it's not elegant, but it works. It may not stop all the audio, but it does a good job of making sure people can't see the webcam. And there are some issues with webcams these days. In theory, you hear about an exploit from time to time, certain webcams that can be turned on without the light on or any clue like that. So again, I mean, they're interesting things, but look, if I want anti-malware, it's because I want to deal with malware, not with all these other features, but we'll talk about them. Okay. So what I had to do is I had to go through a lot of thoughts about what anti-malware do I want to talk about today. So I went ahead and we're going to pick on five very popular ones today. So I'm going to do Windows Defender, the built-in Windows tool. We're going to do Malwarebytes, extremely popular. We're going to do Kaspersky, another real popular one. We're going to do Avast. I'm not a fan of Avast, and I'm going to show you why. But I thought we'd put one of these more heavy on the ads kind of thing in. Then we're going to take a look at F-Secure. And those are the five I'm going to look at. Now, there were three more that almost made it. And it's not that they're bad. They're all actually very good. Panda, the Norton Suite, and Bitdefender. It's pretty simple. Neither Panda nor Norton's gets huge ratings by anybody. They're well respected. And they both tend to be cross-platform, which is attractive. But they're going to make me pay for them. And I had so much to talk about in so little time already, I decided to slide past those. So if you're a Panda fan or a Norton's fan, sorry, I'm not against them. I just, I wanted to pick the best ones that I could. And then Bitdefender is actually a very good one. I use it every single day on my Android phone. So when we close this session talking about Android, we'll bring Bitdefender back up. I think it's a wonderful product. But to me, it's more of an Android product. Yes, it has a Windows tool. I guess I like these, and I'm Mike Meyers, so that's what I'm going to do. All right. So the other thing I want to talk, there we go. The other thing I want to talk about is cleaning a badly corrupted system. So when you've got a system that's just so full of malware, you don't know where to start. Traditionally, what you've always done is you make some kind of boot or a rescue thumb drive or a CD or whatever it is. The one I've been using for years, and I still use it, it works great, just tried it again this week, is the Kaspersky Rescue Disk. It's completely free, works like a champ, seems to find just about everything, cleans it all up, does a really, really good job. However, there is something else out there called the Malwarebytes Chameleon, and I'd almost rather show that to you than anything else. So let's go ahead and dive in. And first of all, let's start off with the Windows virtual machine. So here in my Windows virtual machine, I am running just the classic Windows security. I know I call it Defender, and I guess it's not really using that name anymore, but it is there. This is my traditional first line of defense when I'm looking for an anti-malware solution on Windows. That's right. I tend not to buy anti-malware in a Windows 10 environment these days. So nothing too terribly exciting here. As always, you're going to see some type of scanning tool, and then you're going to have scan options. It defines how you want to scan, what time of day you want to scan. Do you want to scan weekly or whatever it might be? Which also brought up a very, very interesting question that I kind of got into a little bit of an argument with, and that was, how often do you scan for viruses? I don't believe in scanning every day. If you, for example, with the Windows Defender, leave that to scan every day, it eats up a tremendous amount of memory. What is the name of that tool? I got it up here. Anti-Malware Service Executable. Anti-Malware Service Executable, which can eat up a ton of memory. Now, remember, I'm running this in a virtual machine, okay? But I still have my regular system here, and I'm eating, right now, it's not bad at all. It's at 40 megabytes because I've got it way turned down. Quick scan, I don't scan very often, so it saves on memory. This is always a big issue with these toys is, man, they can really eat a tremendous amount of memory. Okay, so I really like it. It's a tool that has bailed me out many times in scary places. The Windows Defender has a wonderful reputation. It's built into Windows, and I've had good luck with it. Now, if it misses something, then I'm going to be turning to other tools. So I want to talk about this from both sides of the street. So not only are we going to have the ongoing testing, not only are we going to have all those less than optimal type toys in there. But I also want to talk about if it's highly corrupted. And I'll give you a clue. We're going to be talking about Kaspersky because it's a great tool. Okay. All right. So let me close it and get some memory back. All right, so the next one I'm going to go to, and the guys at Total Seminars, pretty much to a man, love Malwarebytes. So let's take a quick peek at Malwarebytes. So this is Malwarebytes. Yes, I'm running Windows Enterprise Edition right now. I just brought these down because I had a 90-day license, so I can do what I need to do. One of the things I like about Malwarebytes is it doesn't come with a ton of weird toys on it like we're going to be seeing with other ones. So it's going to have a pretty standard scanner. It does a really, really good job. Malwarebytes is one of the best in terms of finding just about everything. It does a great job. Even these real-time protection features that you're seeing here really aren't necessarily, I mean, it's going to do this almost anyway. So turning these on and off are almost featureless in my opinion. Now, what is interesting though is this. So what this is called, here, I'm going to pull it up here. So what you're looking at is a bunch of little files, right? I'm assuming you guys can read these, and it says stuff like Firefox and IE Plus and command line and all that. This is a very little cool tool that I didn't know about called Malwarebytes Chameleon. Remember when I was telling you when you run into a system that's highly corrupted, that you traditionally want to boot off of some type of bootable media and then attack everything? There's some good reasons for that. If something's highly corrupted, malware is going to do evil things. It's going to stop registry access. It's going to stop access to services in the control panel. It's going to prevent you from getting to a command line. They'll turn off Control-Alt-Delete. I mean, it's pretty amazing in terms of how tough these things can be. So for me, the answer's always been, don't even bother with that. Shut the machine down, get a bootable thumb drive, shove it in there, boot off that, and do what you got to do. Chameleon changes that game. What Chameleon does, it goes, look, we've got 30 different ways that we can sneak in and load ourselves in your system that are not what malware looks for, going through browsers, popping up different weird command lines and stuff like that. And literally the instructions are hilarious. They go, look, all you got to do is put Chameleon, it's actually built in to Malwarebytes, and you can just, it says, start clicking on these until something works. That's literally what the instructions say, because they never know, what you're being infected with. It wasn't very exciting. I didn't really have anything bad, so they all pretty much worked. There's a regular graphic executable, there's a command line executable, there's a Firefox, there's a Chrome, and it was different, and it worked. I was able to, get on a system and run it. Now, obviously, I didn't have a highly corrupted system, but what an interesting alternative way from having that bootable anti-malware around all the time. I was very happy with the way it worked out, and I recommend you give it a shot. So other than that, other than that, Malwarebytes is great, but it's not exciting, and for me, that's part of the joy of Malwarebytes, is that it gets in there, it cleans off the bad stuff, and it does a good job with it. All right. So as much as I like that, let's move on. Well, let's talk for a minute. I am always frustrated with third-party anti-malware tools. I have been for 15 years. In that, I think, in my opinion, Norton/Symantec probably started the problem, but we have a lot of people who carry the torch, where the anti-malware solution is corroded with advertisement. It's corroded with extra pieces of what I call crapware that may or may not be of interest to you, but if you have any comfort with a Windows system, who needs encryption, right? It's all built into Windows anyway. But they're there. In my opinion, Avast is probably the worst offender at this. Avast is, first of all, I want to stress, Avast does a good job of cleaning up malware. I'm not going to argue that one iota. Avast eats up a tremendous amount of memory. It requires a lot of tweaking, and I feel like I'm using a program that always has its hand out, trying to get money from you. So with that understanding in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at Avast. So here's Avast. And now it wants to restart my computer. No, you don't, not right now. I'm going to ignore that for the time being. Hopefully that'll be all right. Okay, so here's the default for Avast. Now this is the free version of Avast, and really all you're getting here is the ability to scan and clean. It could be a real challenge. Well, it's not a challenge. Give them money and things will work. So the scan itself is a little bit boring, but let's take a look at some of the other stuff. For example, here under protection, so you've got virus scans. You've got what they call core shields, which is, so you want to check, you want a real-time protection for your files, you want a real-time protection for any application that behaves suspiciously, you want things for your web attacks, and you want mail shield. I don't believe in this stuff. I mean, most anti-malware tools should do this pretty much automatically. Certainly, Windows Defender does. I think the idea here is we're trying to cut down on the amount of memory being used more than anything else. And this does give you some fairly nice fine controls on what you want checked and not checked. If you're running Firefox, Firefox has, and Chrome does too, very aggressive anti-malware built into the browser itself. So you go in here and you turn it off. Okay, I can do that. But do keep in mind, it eats tons of memory. Anyway, let's go back. I have so many screens that I gotta keep scrolling back and forth. Okay, so if you take a look, let's go down to privacy. So again, it's got this password crypt, which can be handy, a data shredder. I can do that from a command line. But again, I mean, for some people that could be very, very convenient. Secure line VPN, so they got a built-in reverse VPN. I didn't get to try it. I did hear perfectly nice things about it. Has lots and lots of endpoints, which is always the important thing. Webcam shield, same thing. You just go in there and you say, turn it off unless these certain programs are using it. And that's about it. Anti-track premium, all that is doing is it's going in and cleaning out certain types of tracking cookies. And again, I have tools built into my browsers to do that. So anyway, that is Avast in a nutshell. So when I was looking at the comparisons of Avast versus Kaspersky, I just can never say that name right, sorry. Neither one was really a huge winner. Actually, there was something called FPROT, which was a big winner. Not as familiar with. But so what I'm starting to come to the conclusion in is that you're not really picking anti-malware tools because of how well they detect malware. Isn't that hilarious? Because they all do a pretty good job. You know, everybody's getting a A- or an A or an A+. So back in the old days, I would traditionally always have like 2 anti-malwares. And again, this would be on bootable media because I never trusted one to get everything. I'm not so sure that that's a good strategy anymore. I really do feel we're at a point now where all the anti-malwares do pretty good. Now the question is how do you avoid all the other junk and what can you get for the right price? And that's where the challenge can really come into play. By the way, everything we're looking at here today, you can get for free, at least in terms of detecting and cleaning malware. They then want you to sell you the extra stuff, mainly for extra bells and whistles and for support. So everything we're looking at has a free version, which will do the job, and then a pay version that will go anywhere. They're pretty much all subscription. Some are as low as $5 a year. Others are more like $60 a year. So keep that in mind as we move forward. I've never paid for anti-malware. Never once. All right, what's next on the list here? All right, so let's go to one of my favorites, Kaspersky. Where are you, Kaspersky? I have too many. There he is. All right. All right, so Kaspersky, if you guys, you can't, oh, thank goodness you can't see it. I've been calling this Kaspersky like since God was a teenager, and it's really, really hard for me to change my brain on this. This is an interesting example of a anti-malware that I respect very, very much, but even this one brings in a tool called Safe Money. And the Safe Money tool basically goes through and looks at, it creates a lock for your credit cards, right? Not too dissimilar from the ones that, I don't know if you ever use PayPal like that, I do, which will lock a credit card. Google has that now also, and puts it in a protected browser tab, so it's actually got its own little container, and it locks it down pretty good. That sounds wonderful, but again, the reality is the tools, I guess that maybe I'm old-fashioned because I use web tools to do exactly the same thing. And so I've been pretty happy with that. Anyway, if we look at Kaspersky, Scott Jernigan's like going right now. If we actually take a look at the tool itself, again, we're just going to see a nice little scanner here. Light this puppy up. And it's already up and running. So I can do a scan, database update. You know what? Let's talk about that for a minute too, because this has always been a big issue with anti-malware. Is all anti-malware traditionally has always been detected using looking at signatures. So there's some type of binary signature from the malware itself, whether it's a traditional virus that attaches executables, whether it's a Trojan, whether it's an attachment in an email, whatever it might be. Your anti-malware doesn't care because it's going to be looking for these digital signatures which tell us that it's a piece of malware. I mean, there are, the ICARS database, EICARS, it's been around forever, has hundreds of thousands of listings in there of different signatures. And this is what all the guys use. All the different anti-malware companies go to this ICARS database. They may throw some of their own stuff in, and they look for signatures. I mean, that's the thing. So you update the signatures once a month or once a week or whatever you want to do, and that's how you keep your anti-malware up to date. That's starting to fade out a lot. And what we're seeing instead is, number one, almost all malware these days is polymorphic to some extent, where the signature changes. So it will use heuristics to look at it and go, this is close enough that this is bad. And they do a pretty good job with that. They use AI based on behaviors, watching executables suddenly load and unload where they shouldn't be doing it with user permissions. Stuff like that is a big clue. Window position, stuff like this. So they're still using signatures, but they're going a lot deeper than that now, using AI and heuristic behaviors to be able to find malware. It's pretty cool. Again, I'm not going to say all of them do this to some extent. And again, everybody's pretty much the same, so it's up there. Yes, you're still going to have to update your signature files all the time, but you just need to be aware that that's there. So other little things, where's a director when I need one? Okay, so you got privacy protection again. So this has got one of these webcam tools, private browser. Again, for me, if I'm going to be doing private browsing, I'm going to be doing that through Firefox. So, pretty good tool, but it works out all right. So, all of these are great tools. You know, even Avast will definitely protect you. It will protect you. Unfortunately, it's a big installation and lots of goo. And Avast on Android is a particular pain. It's hard to uninstall. Yeah. But they work out pretty good. So the last one I want to talk about is been around for a good little bit, called F-Secure. So let's take a little peek at F-Secure real quick. All right. So funny, you guys can see F-Secure, but I can't. I'm digging for it. I've got 37 windows open. Okay, so F-Secure is a great tool, good pricing, which is nice. Again, this is, if you just want to do a quick scan and find malware, it's free. But if you want some of the other tools, for example, family tools, well, we already talked about that. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to set that up myself using Windows. What other tools we have here? You know, different ways to scan for viruses, app and file control in terms of, but to me, that's almost really just firewalling more than anything else. Just, actually, I didn't check this one. Let's take a look at Windows firewall settings on here. Oh, it just goes to Windows Firewall. Okay, thank you. So handy to have an icon that does that for you. F-Secure is pretty simple, as you can see. It doesn't put a lot of extra goo in there. I like the fact that it's not covering with bias for something like that. I'm sorry, I'm being distracted. You guys are talking about all kinds. Is anybody paying attention to me right now? Eric Carr, I live on Firefox. I accept no other browser. It gives me tremendous, tremendous tools. All right. So if you were going to make me pick one of these, I would probably go with Kaspersky. Malwarebytes would be a close second. Neither of them seem to be overly obnoxious about all their extra tools in there. They both install easily. Kaspersky also allows you to make a bootable media, which I think is absolutely critical. And it's built in. And Malwarebytes as well. They both have that. Works great. Priced roughly the same. So I'm not going to say one over the other. There is no perfect free tool out there. Some good tools. It'll certainly clean up malware, but like for real-time protection and stuff like that, well, I'm sorry. There is one good free tool. It's called Windows Defender, and you paid $100 for your copy of Windows, so you know that's probably the one, and it is the one that I go to. All right, so let's take a little peek here, and let's talk about Android a little bit. There's really only two tools out there that I really trust for Android. And by the way, this is the place I do install anti-malware. There is no Windows Defender for Android, so you've got to put something on there. So the two that I lean on heavily are Kaspersky Mobile Antivirus, and probably my best friend right now is Bitdefender Mobile Security for Android. I love this tool. It has a little bit of extra goo in there that I don't necessarily want or need. Again, I use, not only do I use Firefox, I use special versions of Firefox on my Android device when I'm web browsing, but it puts all those tools in there as well, and this tool has saved me a gazillion times. So if you're gonna make me pick something for my Android device, it's gonna be Bitdefender. I have never used Bitdefender on a Windows system. I know it can do it, but you know, I guess I'm locked into the ones that I know and love, and I'm going to be sticking with those. So that's my quick and dirty on Mike's opinion on anti-malware. It's a good time for anti-malware right now. Attacks have never been worse. All of the tools that I've described to you have a free version, which will at least allow you to clean stuff up. And with Windows Defender, I think we're in pretty good shape. The only thing I would be concerned about more than anything else is on an Android device, and I turned to Bitdefender, although I also ran the Kaspersky and was very, very happy with that interface as well. So the choice is up to you. Wow, I did good here. I thought this was going to take me about 40 minutes. It took me 35 because I figure you guys are going to have some questions, and I want to start scrolling through, and hopefully we've got some good questions here. Ghost and Leo, thanks, Mike. Currently taking it Perscolis. You guys are at Perscolis? Are you are you in the Bronx by any chance? I've been to your school. It's a great, great school. My Chrome is running slow. No other program, just Chrome, and mainly when it's on YouTube and it's not an internet speed issue. It's a gaming PC. Chrome is like the fastest browser there is. If you're having problems with Chrome, I would take a real hard look at the add-ons that you've put in there. The other possibility is that you say it's on YouTube. If your YouTube default settings are garbage, you could really have a problem with that. People forget that if YouTube is giving you trouble, there's a lot of adjustability to YouTube in terms of, how to, people all set their frame rates to automatic, which can be good in a lot of cases, but a lot of times it's a bad idea. You just got to play with them. So I would be looking at your YouTube settings more than anything else, and I'd make darn good and sure that Chrome doesn't have any weird add-ons that you forgot that you installed, and it can cause problems. You can actually start Chrome in a safe mode. Just do a start Chrome safe mode search in Google, and that would be the quick way to test that. Andres Carmona, I'll be enrolling in CompTIA this week. It enables me to complete the course in 6 months. Therefore, as I study further, will the course ever become updated with new material? Yeah, CompTIA updates all of its examinations once every 3 years in keeping with the European ISO 27000 standards. So they're updated about every 3 years. A+ was updated just about a year ago. Scott Jernigan can correct me on that if I'm off. So we've got a couple more years on A+ with the current, as it currently is. That doesn't mean that CompTIA very much says that they can change things if they want. I've only seen them do that once, and we're at the 10,000 series, and I've been around since the 100 series. We're at the 1,000 series. I've been around since the 100 series, and only one time, and that's 10 different series, 3 years apart. Yeah, I've been at this a while, where they actually changed it midstream. So it always gets frustrating because people see my book and they'll go, oh, copyright 2018. Now it's 2020. This book must be old. Nope. It's right on the money for the current exams. And that's why it's really important when you talk about CompTIA, don't ever say a year. Nobody cares. When you're talking about a CompTIA exam, double check the number, right? So if you said you were taking the A+ 220-901-902, that would give me some concern. That was the previous version. So we're always talking about the version. Ghost and Leo deleted temporary files. I think I'm coming halfway into a conversation here. Robert Azare, yeah, Scott's got you covered. Yes, just just send Kathy Yale an email and she'll take care of it. Yeah, guys, I don't have any bathrooms in my house. I have to run to the grocery store. This is a lot of fun. Yeah. But I'm here for you guys. You know why? Because you're important. Okay, so we're coming into the final thing. I'm not seeing any questions, which surprises me. I'm seeing some agreement statements, which is good. Anyway, remember, just because you were nice enough to show up today, we're offering all of our practice questions and all of our simulations for 50% off. So Scott Jernigan just keeps typing in the code, and just look down here to get to our total seminar site, and you can get 50% off of everything. We're going to be doing this for the duration. I don't intend to quit doing this anytime soon. especially while we're waiting for to see how the coronavirus takes off. So, yeah, we're going to be here. I would anticipate we're here another month easily. And based on the level of success, even after the coronavirus, you're probably going to see me doing something like this on an ongoing basis. Will I be doing it daily? Don't know yet. Mondays with Mike or something like that could be topicality based, and then like a Friday fun day where we give stuff away. That could be something would happen. But it's open, and it's really just a matter of, we started this to help folks because everybody's isolated. But, we're getting a lot of good noise on this. So, we'll see. Keep coming back. That's going to be a big part of it. Ernie Casillas, Norton slows my Mac down annoying. Yeah, Norton's kind of notorious for that. Dave Forshumps, can you take... Okay, Scott's answering these questions. I don't need to... Scott is on top of this. Yeah, Norton is I know POS bloatware, but it's a problem. Avast is, in my opinion, very close to being almost that bad. No, Timothy, I canceled the online test. We were getting so much information already. I think we've got a good handle on it, so I didn't do it. I was going to take it today, actually, and then I had a conflict, better known as sewer from hell. Oh, yeah, you think it's just a sewer line, right? No, then he finds a gas line that's rotting out, it's about to explode, and the top of my hot water heater is melting, and don't own a home, guys. It's not worth it. Paul Murphy likes Bitdefender. Yeah, me too. We were mentioning it. Andres Carmona, Scott Jernigan is on top of the questions today. Terrence Tech, F-Secure's still good. It almost made it on the list. The biggest problem is I wanted to run all these in virtual machines, and I got 32 gigs on this laptop, and I just couldn't run anymore. I should have at least put it in as a mention. What about the price? I did not list prices, guys. I guess I should have. Good point. Sakaros, Alan Duggan. I have 785 megabytes of system junk. Is there an anti-malware tool that'll clean system junk completely? Well, you got to be really careful with that system junk. There are some cleaner tools out there. I've been a fan of CCleaner, CCLEANER. It's a very dangerous tool in the wrong hands, so I'm reticent to recommend it anymore because it also had a malware problem that took it back. They fixed it, but now everybody gets nervous about it. I'm unaware of any one tool that does a system cleanup. I mean, you got disk cleanup built into Windows, and that'll at least get your temp files and a few things like that. Sakaros, Mike Meyers, do you stream on Twitch or Mixer? What games are you playing? Oh, here we go. My rig right now is it's a second generation Ryzen 27 something. I forget what it is. I got at least 32 gigs of RAM in there. I'm running a 1080 Ti card, which is plenty for me right now. Got nice dually gaming monitors, 4Ks. What else do you want to know? Yeah. What am I playing? God, I'm playing dumb games right now. I'm not playing any of the cool games. Just don't feel like it. Jennifer McBride, I used used Windows Defender once a week? Use. Okay, there, she even corrected herself. What's MRT? Do I need to look that up? I'll look it up. People and acronyms, man. MRT, anti-malware. Oh, malicious software removal tool? Is that even still being updated by Microsoft? I didn't think that Microsoft was still even updating that thing. So, are you guys? Last I had heard it wasn't being updated anymore, and that it was offline. So, in fact, I'm going to stick to that for right now. Yeah, I'm on Wikipedia right now. Nope, it's got a stable release of February 2020. Look at me, learning stuff from you guys. Ernie Casillas, can we nerd online? Yes, set up a Discord. I'm not going. I'll join other people's Discord, but I'm not going to set it up. Why no file extensions shown on that screen? Oh, Elaine, these are just VMs I spun up to show the anti-malware, so I didn't really get to tweak them the way I like. So by default, of course, Windows doesn't show extensions. Man, we're almost out of time already. I am very interested. That fascinates me that Microsoft malicious software removal tool is still cranking. All right, you guys, I'm going to just stay out of these types of conversations because it looks like y'all have got everything up and cooking. All right. Anyway, guys, so I'm going to go ahead and hang on. Michelle McBride. McAfee free trail came with my device, but I don't want to use it, so how do I stop it from popping up on my screen? Asking me to renew. Uninstall it. I don't think McAfee is particularly notorious for uninstalling problems. Just uninstall it. I'm assuming you have a Windows system, and yeah. McAfee is weird. I got a message from one of my guys saying that McAfee is one of the very few anti-malwares that the U.S. government does not allow to have run on its systems. I think I got that from Dave Rush. Dave's great at fun little trivia like that. Yeah, Gino, don't make any jokes about me losing my foundation. Yeah, okay. Well, guys, I think that's about it for me. So, listen, this was a great one. I hope you learned a little bit something out of it. It looks like it was, we got a bunch of brother and sister nerds in here all sharing common information, which is fantastic. Scott Jernigan, thank you so much for fielding all these questions, brother. As you can see, I was trying to make sure we had this done by 3, and it looks like we're going to time this out just about right. So things are in pretty good shape. Remember, don't forget our specials that we have, 50% off all the practice questions and simulations. And for you instructors, make sure you get Kathy Yale's email address and contact her directly. I do not have a topic locked in for next Monday. I'm thinking it's going to be why Mike loves Firefox and the cool add-ons he uses. So I'd be very curious to see if you guys would have interest in something like that. I mean, I use Edge, I use Chrome, I even use Internet Explorer from time to time still. But I really do love Firefox, and I'd love to be able to show you guys particularly the extensions and add-ons that I use. I think I've got it tweaked really nice. It does eat up a lot of memory. I'm not going to say it doesn't. Right now, my Firefox, I've got Task Manager up and running. I'm smoking about 700 megabytes right now, which is high, but I think it's worth it, and mine in particular because of the crazy amount of add-ons that I use. That can sometimes be some kind of issue. So, all right. Anyway, Tolowitz says, do the Firefox topic. Timothy Bennett says, Chrome is more advanced. Chrome is also big brothering me to death, and it makes me nervous. Okay. Very good then, guys. That's all I've got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed our discussion on anti-malware. I will be back tomorrow for a more generalized Ask Me Anything. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, 2 o'clock Central Daylight Time, every day, Monday through Friday, until I say we ain't doing it no more. So until then, this is your buddy Mike saying good night. Good night.